At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
Shine, flies, no time to waste while it's passing you by. Shine, flies, be patient, 'cause good things happen in time. We gon' get it right, we gon' get it right, we gon' get it right. We gon' get it right.
Protests and anthems, yes, we chanting. A movement of people, it's like we dancing to the ministry of. It's the energy of, in memory of them that we love. The trinity of the people, the peace, the power, the truth. We speak, the power's even louder. We can say it blacker, we can say it prouder. A woman vice president that went to Howard. Now we talk helping black businesses, and our differences is magnificent. Bringing light to the point where the prisons is. I was told good life is where forgiveness lives. The ascension is to leave what's left behind and feed the seeds with deeds that bless the mind, caress the mind, and question justify. When you and God in time are best aligned.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live from the White House, where there's so much happening in this building. There's so much happening here in Washington, D.C. that impacts each and every one of us across the nation. So much energy around the so-called big, beautiful bill that is currently being voted upon in the United States Senate. This is a bill that may touch multiple areas of your life. It's not just about making tax cuts for the millionaires and billionaires permanent, but so much in this bill related to reforms to student loans, related to cuts to Medicaid, upwards of $800-900 billion. So much here that we need to pay attention to. And a little bit later, I'll be sharing the story of an impacted individual that I heard this afternoon across from the U.S. Capitol that bears worth repeating. I'm in touch until you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and I pop right on up, fresh for you to follow. Also, download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or simply tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. Subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580, the only Black-owned and operated talk station west of the Mississippi. Now, this weekend, I was east of the Mississippi, not just here in D.C. I went up to New York City to celebrate Pride Weekend in New York with some friends. And it's worth noting, as the New York Times has reported, that New York City Pride, it arrives amid a growing national backlash. You see, millions of people gathered on Sunday for the New York City Pride March, and shout out to former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who served as one of the grand marshals of the New York City Pride Parade, where folks packed the streets of Manhattan for a celebration amid what marchers described as the most hostile political environment for LGBTQ Americans in decades. Now, for folks who are a little less familiar, the march, it commemorates the 1969 Stonewall riots. Some people call them riots, some people call them uprising. but they are widely seen as giving rise to the modern LGBTQ rights movement. The effort over many years has increased public support for LGBTQ people, but the movement is facing new challenges from the Supreme Court, the Trump administration, and even some Democrats. Pride celebrations have been equal parts party and protest, and those who planned the march on Sunday said that filling the streets with rainbow flags and colorful floats was now more important than ever. You know why? They're important because the rights of LGBTQ people have come under increasing attack. And, let me just say, sometimes in having conversations with Black folks, brown folks, folks of color, sometimes the image that people have in their minds of the LGBTQ community is white. I'm just going to call it how I see it. And so they don't really see Black and brown and, Asian and South Asian LGBTQ people, right? And so, the visibility of Black LGBTQ people and brown LGBTQ people and makes a big difference. Because when people can see their son, see their daughter, see their uncle, see their auntie, see their father, their mother in Black and brown faces in the LGBTQ community, I think that puts people on a journey of really being able to change their hearts and minds. Think about it. Next time you see a story on the news about LGBTQ anything, what's that B-roll footage look like? Chances are a lot of it is going to look very white. And that's a part of what we've got to change if, in fact, this movement is going to touch everybody under the rainbow. Moving on, in other news, the Diddy trial is coming to an end. It's coming to an end. The jury actually sent a note to the judge saying that one of the jurors may not follow instructions. Have you been following the jury trial? And shout out to folks like Laura Coates over at CNN. She's been doing a phenomenal job covering the trial, as has Justin from the Shade Room. He's been on here a number of times to give us updates. I'm sure we will have him on again as soon as there's a meaningful update. But USA Today is reporting that the jury has begun deliberations and warns that one juror may not follow instructions. Diddy's fate is in the hands of 12 jurors as they deliberate a verdict in his criminal trial. The jury, which has heard graphic testimony on Combs' alleged abuses from more than 30 witnesses, gathered again in the Manhattan court today to begin deliberations following the completion of closing arguments. One strange moment that surprised a lot of people that have been following this case, the jury sent a note to the judge saying that they were concerned that a juror wouldn't follow the pivotal instructions they were given at the start of the process. The judge sent the jury back to work and didn't replace the juror with an alternate. It wasn't immediately clear if the moment was a speed bump in deliberations or a sign of more issues to come. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Afenfilo, on June 27th, he framed the case as the tale of two trials. He argued that the case is about love, jealousy, and money, not trafficking or racketeering. He accused the government of putting on a show to target a wealthy celebrity. I've been saying this for quite a while now, really since the beginning. And I'm not even in the courtroom every day. I haven't been in the courtroom at all. I've just been, reading a lot of stuff y'all are reading and talking to our guests who are at the courthouse. And, it seems to me that the prosecutors have had a heavy bar to hit. You have Diddy's defense team essentially saying, Is he a bad guy? Has he done terrible things that he's not proud of, that no one should be proud of? Sure. Does it amount to racketeering? They say, So we'll see where this thing goes. When we come forward, I'm really looking forward to sharing with you my conversation with a medical doctor and TikTok star that is going to blow your mind. Going to blow your mind. Going to blow your mind. She's incredible. You'll hear about all the platforms that she is building. You'll learn about her new book. You'll learn about her podcast. When we come forward, I can't wait to introduce you to Dr. Erin Nance. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months.
You are listening to and streaming A More
Not a bird. And get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by the program or its affiliates.
Catch Prep is now enrolling for summer credit recovery in fall 2025. As South Los Angeles' top-performing high school in English, math, and college access, Catch Prep is welcoming all 9th through 12th graders to enroll now. Catch Prep offers a small, supportive, and safe learning environment to help all students succeed, so that all students feel valued, respected, and motivated to reach their full potential. For the past 20 years, Catch Prep has helped more students of color gain admission to top-tier universities, with our graduating seniors earning a total of $3 million in scholarships, more than any other school in Los Angeles. We are dedicated to helping all students turn your college dreams into reality. Catch Prep is now enrolling. Visit us online at catchhighschool.com or call 323-293-3917. Space is limited. Please enroll now for summer credit recovery and fall 2025. Call 323-293-3917 or enroll today at catchhighschool.com.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and it's not every day that we get to talk to a TikTok star who's now a debut author. Dr. Erin Nance just released her memoir, Little Misdiagnosed, A Surgeon's Guide to Breaking Bones and Bending Rules. It's available now everywhere books are sold. Welcome to the show, Dr. Nance.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicordelai. I love talking with other doctors about issues that we feel really passionate about, but we don't always have the platform to speak out about.
Well, this is really a meeting of the minds. You got a doctor of education talking to a medical doctor. First things first, talk to us about how you got into this. I had a chance to listen to some of the audio book where you talk about that sort of fateful night where you were going down to the basement, you fell and broke your arm.
You know, I think a lot of kids have that broken bone story, and it's so vivid in my mind. But so my dad was he was the lawyer for the hospital. And so he was really like friends with all the doctors, the young doctors. And when I broke my arm, he said, okay, we're going into the city, we're going to Lenox Hill. And when I get there, I'm greeted by a doctor in a tuxedo. And I'm a little kid. I'm like, what is going on? I mean, he's like, James Bond is my doctor. And he treats me, he puts the cast on. And what I didn't know was behind the scenes, my dad had called one of the young doctors to come into the hospital to see me. He was not on call that night. He was at the opera with his wife, and he left the opera to come and treat me. And it was the first experience I had of a doctor really going above and beyond for their patient.
I mean, it's just another example of how just the littlest things, just exposure to the littlest things shape little minds, and including your own. Now, you have a TikTok following of 750,000. Is that right?
It's actually 812,000 now. But yes, it is a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. Talk to us about how you became a social media sensation. We, don't hear a lot of orthopedic surgeons having that kind of TikTok following, or just that kind of resonance with the public. How did all this happen?
So this started, I call myself an accidental influencer, but I started sharing my stories of my time in residency. One of the first stories I told was my first day of work as an intern, right? It's about to be July 1st. Everybody knows what that means. And on that day, my brother was in a diving accident, broke his neck, and became a quadriplegic. So, the stories that I was telling were kind of how these family tragedies, they shaped me as a doctor to be an empathetic, physician. But also, I was really focused on content that a lot of people didn't hear doctors talking about, right? So I talk about misdiagnosis and what that means to go so many years to see so many doctors and still not have an answer. Or I talk about what it's like for a woman to say that she's having, shortness of breath and chest pain, only to be told she's having a panic attack when she could be having a heart attack, right? And so I was really bringing up these issues that real life people were having, but no doctor was speaking out on.
I mean, your show really resonated with me. And for folks who are less familiar, you're the co-host of the Medical Detectives podcast. And I can tell you, I mean, just a little over a year ago, I had a polyp removed from my vocal cords. And I had seen 5 doctors. I'd see 5 different doctors coast to coast in order to get the proper diagnosis, which was really, really, really hard to come by. It was very frustrating. Everybody was telling me, you just need to get more rest, right? Or during the winter months, you just need to cover up, go on vocal rest. You need to drink more tea, everything. But, you have a polyp that looks like a snowman on your vocal cords that's causing you to sound really hoarse. And so for our leaders, learners, and listeners that remember about a year and a half ago when I would be on air, I sounded really hoarse. And so I definitely sympathize with folks who know something is wrong, but they just need that medical professional that's going to go the extra mile to investigate what it really might be.
Absolutely. So the first video I ever put on Little Misdiagnosed as a TikTok channel was I had someone DM me. You didn't even know doctors had DMs, but they DM'd me on TikTok and they said, Dr. Nance, I have had 10 years of severe fingernail pain and nobody believes me. I've seen 5 doctors. They tell me nothing's wrong. They make me feel like I'm crazy. But I swear if I just brush my fingernail against something, I'll, hit the ceiling. And within 3 seconds, I knew she had a glomus tumor, right? And so I said, listen, you're going to ask your doctor for an MRI. It's going to show you a glomus tumor. You're going to take it out. You're going to be cured immediately. And then she messaged me back 6 weeks later. Oh my God, I got the MRI. It was a glomus tumor. They took it out. I'm completely cured. So, what she did not know is that if you go onto Google and put in PubMed glomus tumor, my name comes up, or my maiden name, Erin McDermott, because I'm one of the world's experts on glomus tumors, right? But what I could really resonate with was, why did it take this woman 10 years to get a diagnosis that I knew in 3 seconds? And what I've come to understand is that, not every doctor is created equal, and the eye only sees what the mind knows. So if you went to a doctor who did not know about vocal cord polyps, you were never going to be diagnosed with a vocal cord polyp. And it's really, unfortunately, part of the patient's, responsibility to not stop, to keep advocating for yourself until you find that doctor who does know what is wrong with you.
Yeah, and also it's not cheap either. It took really coming out of pocket and paying a specialist in Beverly Hills in order to figure out what was going on. And not everybody has those resources. I'm sure you have your own point of view in terms of access to affordable and quality care. We know that women, Black folks of color, our health outcomes are not as good because our access to affordable and quality health care isn't as good.
100%. And it's part of why so number one, I think that access is a major problem. And because, maybe people will say like, well, why do you get your information from social media or online? It's because it takes 6 months to get in to see someone, or you can't afford that $1,000 visit to see the out-of-network specialist. But the problem is that the information online is not vetted or trustworthy or credible, right? So what I ended up doing was building an entire platform, an app called Feel Better, BETR, where the content comes from vetted, credible professionals, right? And my whole goal with this platform is not to help necessarily people diagnose themselves, but to empower people with more education so that they can have a more productive conversation with their doctor. Because not everyone is able to go to Beverly Hills and see that doctor. Not everyone is able to go to the Mayo Clinic and see those types of doctors. A lot of people live in care deserts, right? You don't have access to all of these specialists. So the more we can help people educate themselves from the credible, trusted sources, the better.
I just want to double click on that for our leaders, learners, and listeners. Your medical platform has been launched, just launched recently. And again, it's called Feel Better Health. It's all about, you and so many other folks using their voices to advocate for patients and caregivers and anyone who's ever felt invisible in a hospital gown. That's important work. And so I love how, you have the book, you have the podcast, you now have the Feel Better medical platform that has information that people can trust, information that's vetted, because let me tell you something, the late night on WM and WebMD, it might have you thinking that you're dying.
I built it to be a modern WebMD. If you talk to anyone who's under the age of 25, they don't even know what WebMD is. So, our medical information has not evolved with how people consume content. And what I realized is that there were amazing physicians on social media giving out information, really using it as an extension of their expertise outside of the office. But if I cannot convince a doctor who's not on TikTok about the benefits of being on TikTok. So I thought, we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? We can still utilize these doctors who have an interest in spreading credible medical information online, but create a platform that is trustworthy. And that's the real differentiator. You can go on Reddit, You can go on Facebook, you can go on TikTok, but you just never know who that information is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I was on TikTok, and I stumbled upon some content from Dr. Darian Sutton. He's their ABC News medical contributor, really good guy. I'm sorry, their medical correspondent. And I didn't know that there was such thing as TikTok med school, right? And so he just had this content where he was talking about, this medical condition that I'd never heard about, and chances are a lot of people never heard about. And he knows a lot about some very specific things. And so then I found myself one evening just kind of going down a rabbit hole and listening to different doctors and specialists talk about various conditions that, so many of us may experience, but feel yet unseen and unvalidated. And so it is an example of social media for good. And we want to double click on that. Little Misdiagnosed. It chronicles, your journey navigating challenges and ethical dilemmas in the high stakes. Can you talk to us about some of the ethical dilemmas that are noteworthy that you found and that could be an opportunity for doctors and patients alike to sort of rethink our relationship with one another?
I just told this story online. It's one of the last chapters in the book, but I told it online. It was viewed almost 2 million times in 48 hours. So it is really resonating with people. And it's the story of, I was on call in the ER and a patient comes in. He was a construction worker who had fallen 8 stories from the construction site and almost amputated his hand. His hand was falling off of his arm. And he actually left the hospital called AMA, Against Medical Advice. He never even registered. And I said, what happened? Like, where did he go? What's wrong? We didn't even fix his hand. So the next day I tried to track him down at the construction site. And what I learned from the construction workers was that he was undocumented, and he was terrified of being deported because he would have to, give his name and his information would be out there, and he, was just absolutely terrified. So what I ended up doing was admitting him under a John Doe pseudonym so that we would be able to do the surgery, save his hand, save his life, and save his future in this country. So now this is obviously a very big, example of something, that I did, but I just didn't think that he deserved to die because he was worried that he would, be picked up. And I think that feeling resonates with millions of people right now, which is why so many people, watch that video. And I think what it really speaks to is that we as doctors are often put in these ethical situations where our Hippocratic oath of do no harm is sometimes in direct opposition of the systems that we're working inside of.
Wow. I wasn't expecting you to share that kind of example. And I also want to give you an opportunity to share, given the very turbulent times that we're living in, we're seeing so much video and so many pictures, so many stories of undocumented folks being accosted by ICE officials in hotels, farms, Home Depot parking lots. Talk to us as a doctor in terms of the impact you believe this could have short-term and long-term on public health and patient care.
Well, it creates an environment of fear. And if you are afraid to go to the doctor, then you are not going to go to the doctor. And so you are going to get sick and sicker, and then you may not be able to work, right? So our goal, as physicians is to heal. We are trying to help. And what we really struggle with is how can we do that when insurance companies are saying you only have 5 minutes with this patient, right? Or if people are even terrified to even enter your clinic, When I was a med student, I worked at the Rhode Island Free Clinic. These were mostly people who were undocumented. They had no health insurance. And these were sometimes their only means of accessing life-saving antibiotics or vaccines, or just general, health care. And now, those types of clinics, they're not being funded anymore. Okay. So there's a lot of bigger socioeconomic, political factors at play. I think as doctors, we are just trying to, again, figure out what is the best way that we can advocate for people, whether it's people who are undocumented, whether it's for Black mothers giving birth who have 33% increased risk of mortality compared to, white mothers. And what can we do to insert ourselves into that conversation to really take the best care of our patients?
Oh my goodness, Erin Nance for president.
Yeah.
my goodness.
That is one area I know I do not want to get into. I'm very happy to stay in my clinic and on social media, but I do think that we do need to play a larger role when as doctors. We have weight. When we put on that white coat, that voice is different. So I think as a profession, we have to really talk as a unified voice about what we demand in terms of changes in insurance, changes in access to healthcare.
Yeah, I know, absolutely right. And we hope to see more doctors like you finding creative ways to bridge the gap between information we can trust and, quite frankly, mis and disinformation that is out there on these internet streets. Dr. Nance, I got to ask you, how are some of your colleagues responding to your internet fame? I mean, in years past, I think a lot of doctors might have tipped their nose down, at colleagues that were embracing social media in this way. We know that there are a lot of folks that give, doctors like Dr. Oz sort of, the side eye. How are some of your colleagues responding to your fame?
Well, I like to tell people, I'm 40 years old, and I tell people I like to be on TikTok because no one I know is on TikTok. So I can be as cringy as possible. But, again, my followers, 60% of my followers are over the age of 35. So TikTok is not just a kids platform. And for anyone who thinks like, oh, it's about dancing kids or funny dog videos, TikTok is really an information sharing platform, right? All those videos you watched about Dr. Darian, was he dancing in any of those videos?
No.
No, right? He was giving...
We would still watch if he was, but he wasn't.
Yes, but that and what that really proved to me is that our information is valuable, but we have just not evolved with how people consume content, right? So people now, they are consuming content through podcasting, through short form video, through tweeting, right? And part of why I built this Feel Better platform is to meet people where they are. And I believe that healthcare does not start when you go to the doctor's office. Healthcare starts on your phone. And I believe any doctor who doesn't evolve with that will be left behind.
Well, our thanks to Dr. Erin Nance, TikTok star. If you haven't already, you have to check out her new memoir. It's Little Misdiagnosed, A Surgeon's Guide to Breaking Bones and Bending Rules. It is out and available wherever books are sold. While you're at it, go ahead and follow her. Be a part of the 812,000 TikTokers that follow her at Little Misdiagnosed. And then check out her Feel Better Health platform. I'm sure my mom is listening right now and she is logging on as we speak. If you love Grey's Anatomy or couldn't get enough of The Pit, brace yourself for a medical memoir that's gripping, it's gut-wrenching, it's good stuff. Thank you, Dr. Erin Nance.
Thank you so much for having me, Nick Cordelai. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union.
The audience is listening. Thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This...
Yeah, who is it, just so I know?
It's John.
John from where?
It's the John and Heidi Show. It's out of Sioux Falls, and it's syndicated to 200 markets.
Wonderful.
John Small.
to sell the company from Chinese ownership several times. Rapper Nelly is denying being pro-Trump after performing at Trump's inauguration, saying it was about respecting the office. During a recent radio interview, he slammed former Vice President Kamala Harris for, quote, locking up black men, end quote, and criticized her marriage to a white man while defending his and Snoop Dogg's decades of work in black communities. And Trump Jr. is complaining his dad did not get a Nobel Peace Prize like former President Obama. Black Rep Jasmine Crockett responded, saying Obama had to be, quote, far superior, end quote, to earn it, highlighting his education and clean record compared to Trump's and calling Obama next level. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good news in Santa Clarita, 14 southbound past Placerita Canyon Road. A crash is out of lanes. Delays recovering from Via Princesa. Northbound delays from the 5 to Placerita Canyon Road. Also, some more good news in Sun Valley with this wreck on the 170 northbound at Roscoe. All lanes are now open and traffic is still picking up, getting away from Burbank Boulevard. We're heading out to South LA. Stall on the 110 northbound Manchester Avenue. Blocking lanes at the off-ramp, delays from Imperial Highway. That southbound side of the 110 is going to be challenging as well, out of Elysian Park from Stadium Way all the way back to Manchester Avenue.
Rapid radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies, offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Perfect for instant contact with an aging parent. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get an extra 60% off, free UPS shipping, and add code radio for an extra 5% off.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
With LeBron getting ready for his 23rd NBA season, his 7th with the Lakers, he's in a very unique category. Before agreeing to re-sign with the Lakers for $52.6 million, LeBron and Vince Carter were the only NBA players to play in the league 22 seasons. Carter, a Hall of Famer, retired in 2020. Now, LeBron stands alone as the player who will play the most seasons in NBA history. Beyonce made a $100,000 donation to the Texas Southern University Ocean of Soul marching band. The HBCU band is based in Houston, Beyonce's hometown. Beyonce performed with the band during halftime of an NFL game last season. She did a 15-minute performance with the band on Christmas Day in Houston when the Texans played the Baltimore Ravens. Beyonce's donation will go to scholarships, recruitment, and upgrading the band's resources and technology. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
This KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion, and analysis beyond the headlines. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. I mentioned to you all in the first hour that earlier today I had a chance to head to the U.S. Capitol. There's this thing called Moral Mondays that's been taking place for some time, led by Reverend William Barber II. And every Monday, most Mondays, they have been out there on the Capitol, really drawing attention to what they believe is an immoral budget that is being voted on as we speak on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue at the U.S. Senate. The organization is called Repairers of the Breach. And today, in front of the U.S. Capitol, they created these caskets. And the whole point was that these Moral Monday leaders were there to expose the inevitable deaths that will come from these Medicaid cuts. As I mentioned before, clergy and advocates and people in danger from the pending reconciliation proposals, they gathered outside the U.S. Capitol for the latest Moral Monday demonstration. They condemned lawmakers' plans to harm the poor and the vulnerable, especially by cutting Medicaid, cutting SNAP benefits, and tax credits for low-income working families, which millions of Americans depend on. They depend on just to survive. And so they showcase the deadly consequences of this legislation when demonstrators laid 51 caskets outside of the Supreme Court steps, representing the 51,000 people who will die next year if the proposed cuts to healthcare pass. They also hosted a mock hearing to uplift the voices of Americans who would be in dire danger if lawmakers push ahead with this bill as planned. I really appreciate being able to hear the raw stories of impacted individuals. I think sometimes people get lost in, the statistics, the numbers, the pie charts and all of that, but there's nothing like a good old-fashioned story. There's nothing like hearing from someone who could be your mother, your father, your uncle, your auntie, your cousin, your brother, your sister, or maybe even your teacher. Earlier today, there was a woman by the name of Heidi that rolled up to the mic. And what she shared today, I have not been able to get out of my head. We're going to share the remarks that Heidi made at the U.S. Capitol today. But first, I want to remind you what Reverend William Barber said that was also noteworthy. In a KBLA exclusive, standing in front of the U.S. Capitol, surrounded by a mix of Capitol police and supporters, Reverend Barber was very clear-eyed about the road ahead, saying, quotes, "The Underground Railroad was in process 30 years. We must be the crowd that's going to go all the way. Tell your neighbor, say, I ain't going nowhere." Reverend Barber went on to say that, quotes, "If they do this, and take Medicaid from 16 million people. That's 16 million people we can organize and register to vote. Every wrong thing that they do in this bill is going to come back. Mark my words. The very people that they make mad today are going to be the voter movement and the power of tomorrow. Our job is to warn them today about taking life, because you cannot take life and crucify folks like this and think that there's not going to be a resurrection. When we come forward, you've got to hear the story of Heidi on Capitol Hill today, being beside Reverend William Barber. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. The quiet part out loud, according to Heidi, when we come forward.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent, and the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
No warrant, no key. My privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights. Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as mentioned, today I had a chance to be on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue, in front of the U.S. Capitol, where Reverend William Barber II and people that are part of the Repairs of the Breach Coalition and other supporters were there, sharing the stories of impacted individuals. These are folks who are going to bear the brunt of the impact of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill that is being voted on right now as we speak in the United States Senate. I'm joining you live from the White House, where folks are following the movement of this bill very closely. But we're here at KBLA, we've been following the movement of the people just as closely, if not more. One of those people, Miss Heidi, a school teacher, caught my attention today, and I promised her that I would share her story with each and every one of you. And so take a listen to what Miss Heidi had to say in front of the U.S. Capitol earlier today.
I stand to introduce two strong DC advocates for disabilities as well as immobility. First is Heidi Case. She is the founder of DMV, Immobility and Disability Group and Senior Community Care Group, and Robin Mendez, who is also representing the DC Living Independent Senior Group. First, Heidi Case.
Hello. I am a proud, queer, disabled woman living in DC. I have been a teacher, a public school teacher all my career, focused on kindergarten, first grade, second grade, special education classes, working with kids across this country.
No, not the casket. This young man right here. We need you to step all the way back. You want to get her face. Can you see it now?
Public school teacher with kids who had challenges reading, writing, and math in Arizona, Texas, New Hampshire, and DC. Taught those children when my disability progressed to the point where I was no longer able to work full time. I got Medicaid. Medicaid saves lives. How many of you know Medicaid lets people with disabilities work? Some of us need people to come in, get us up, dressed, ready to go, and go to work. That's why Medicaid's important. And even when you can't, I now have in-home. Medicaid is the program, the only program with in-home health aides. That keeps me in the community. And even when I can't work, my spirit, my heart of social justice keeps me in service. I chair the council in DC that advises DC Department of Transportation and taxis how to make things accessible for everybody. As an election worker, I work for the DOJ. We wrote curriculum on sexual assault and domestic violence for women with intellectual and severe mental health disabilities. Who are those most often preyed, wide on? I am in service, and it's because I can live in the community with home health care. What happened to WWJD? All these Christians, or what would Muhammad, Allah, Buddha do? I leave with a quote from Gandhi. Be the change, Congress people. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Stand up, have courage. Care for your constituents.
That was Miss Heidi. Miss Heidi was on fire today at the U.S. Capitol, and we are all the more inspired. All the more inspired because of the Miss Heidis that saw fit to show up in the sweltering heat at the U.S. Capitol to share their stories and to make their voices heard. You heard Miss Heidi summoning members of Congress, summoning members of the United States Senate to show some moral courage, to see the Heidis across our country and in their states and in their districts in their fullness. I'll never forget hearing Miss Heidi talk about the role that home health aides play in allowing people living with disabilities to be in community. And even more than that, to be in service to our communities. What happens if suddenly all these home health aides go away or they get their hours cut? What does that mean for people living with disabilities in your family, in our community? Pick up the phone, call your member, register your displeasure, your discontent, your disagreement, register it peacefully. Do it now. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire Village helps to produce a more perfect union. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, Brother Andy, our show producers, Faraji and Art, and of course, each and every one of you, all of our leaders, learners, and listeners. We thank you for tapping in and being the change you want to see. Remember, do what you can from where you are with what you have, but by all means, do something. Make that call. Make that change. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, live from the White House.